Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So we are now halfway through the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. 2 series or 4 games in, 2 series or 3 games in. So I thought that I would do what I do best, and that is react to your takes, your reactions to the playoffs thus far, especially the second round. So we're going to go through that. I got 20 different reactions / takes from you guys if you want to submit these. Instagram, MBOnHockey. I post on my stories, and you're able to send it in. Thank you guys all for sending it in. And let's not waste any time. Pretty self-explanatory. Let's dive into it. And up first from Dash, Jets need to start Comry next road game. Hellebuck has a 5.8 goals against average on the road. And yeah, I still am of the belief that you need to ride it out with Hellebuck. I don't think that this team has the overall roster and talent to win the Stanley Cup with just average goaltending that Eric Comrie would probably give you. Your only chance, if you're thinking about maybe just this series, you maybe go with Eric Comrie. But if your goal is to win the Stanley Cup, like I think it is for the Winnipeg Jets, given the fact that they won the President's Trophy, the only way you're really achieving that is through Connor Hellebuck bouncing back. The only reason why you were a President's Trophy or even a top 2 team in your division probably was because of Connor Hellebuck. Yes, it's been bad on the road, and yes, I agree, in this game 4, short leash for sure. If he allows 2-3 goals in the first period, you go to Eric Comrie, and then you go back to Hellebuck once you're back home. But yeah, Hellebuck is so essential to this team. They need to make it work with him, and if they don't, so be it. So be it. They end up losing in the second round, but you ride with your most valuable player that has been your best player. It's been ugly. Short leash, but ride with Connor Hellebuck. Maybe they go with Eric Comrie. I'm posting this before the game on Tuesday. Obviously, this is coming out Monday. Next up, Freddie, in the similar vein. This year is another proof that goaltending is very situational. It is the least important position. And I understand you having this because the 2 highest active paid goalies in the NHL, not counting Carey Price. Bobrovsky, struggling. Did have a shutout last game, as well as Hellebuck, really goddamn struggling. But at the end of the day, it still is the 3 best goaltenders in this year's playoffs is still Jake Ottinger, a guy that I think at this point we all have top 8 probably in our goalie ranking. Logan Thompson, who had a great first 2/3 of the season, was the Vezina runner-up for most of it, then kind of got hurt and kind of fell off, but he's playing great again. And Freddie Anderson, who the main question about him is availability, not really his actual talent when he's playing. He's a damn good goaltender. So although I definitely agree, pay your number 1 center, pay your number 1 defenseman, pay your star winger before you pay your goaltender. And I don't love the Igor Shesterkin deal, even though he is a playoff riser at 11.5. There's within means in terms of your goalie contracts, but I still think goaltending is important to a degree. It's not like we have an Aiden Hill coming out of nowhere back in 2023 to put up a 932. The better goaltenders are still mostly playing better within the playoffs outside of Connor Hellebuck, but we kind of knew that coming into it, that he hasn't really risen to the occasion come goaltending. But I'm more of a pro goaltender guy, but I understand why that has serious merit, although Bobrovsky and Vasilevsky did win cups recently. Moving on, next up, Kyle says, refs fumbled hard on that third Dallas kicked goal. Rule never mentions propel. And yeah, the rule book does seem to have it more so being a no goal just because of the kicking motion. I understand the logic that the refs applied, considering he kicked it, but then Hellebuck played the puck. I would understand if he kicked it, then someone else's stick touched, then it touched Hellebuck and he hit it in, then it would be a good goal. I was more so on the no goal side. I understand why, but based on the rule book, I understand why Winnipeg Jets fans are absolutely losing their mind. I would be more so losing my mind on the Mason Marchment. I don't know if you saw this. When he didn't get a call to go his way, when he didn't get a power play for the Dallas Stars, he went up to a ref, kind of jawed at him, and he didn't slash him hard, but he lightly tapped him, which that should be an automatic 5-minute major and a suspension, I believe. So that I would be furious at. And if I'm a Winnipeg Jets fan, I definitely have a problem with the refs of late. On the flip side of this, though, Caps coverage, chill out about the refs. It's the playoffs. Calls suck both ways. And usually I am pro ref to a degree. I think they do kind of get a bad rap because it is such a high-paced game. They are going to miss shit inevitably, but I do think this year it seems to have more implications, more consequences. In bigger moments, it seems like the refs are not rising to the occasion. In that Florida versus Toronto game, they have just completely lost control. Guys elbowing, Max Domi running, bull rushing Alexander Barkov with 5 seconds to go. It's out of control. It's on the refs. It's on player safety, but it seems to be worse than prior years. And maybe you could probably find me saying this last year as well. Oh, it seems to be worse than it usually is, but I think that it does kind of seem to be worse this year. We're going to move on. No more ref talk. Herb says the Oilers would cruise throughout the playoffs if they had reliable goaltending. And yeah, if we said it nonstop, if they got a 9-10 throughout the entire playoffs, even a 9-05, and Ekholm came back at a reasonable time, they'd probably be my Western Conference pick. But we knew that the goaltending was so lackluster. We're going to have something else coming up against Calvin Pickard. But yeah, Stuart Skinner is just not it at all. I don't fully blame him for that loss against the Vegas Golden Knights. But at the end of the day, this team had such limitations in net and did not address it, despite we knew that. Stuart Skinner played solid last year in the playoffs, but this year, to bring in not even just like a veteran guy that could maybe be solid come playoff time is absolutely ridiculous. And as a result, at this point, they're still up 2-1, but I would not be shocked if goaltending ends up being the reason why they are eliminated in this round or next round. Next up from Caden, if the Leafs lose, is it time to retool / change captains already? Imagine William Nylander or Morgan Rielly becomes the captain after one season. In terms of retool and actually changing stuff up, you could technically, considering Marner's a UFA, considering Tavares is a UFA, Matthew Knies RFA right there. I don't think they're going to trade Matthew Knies, but you could just say, Mitch Marner, if you want $13.5 million, $13.75 on the open market, and we kind of choked in that second round, you and Austin Matthews did not show up to the level that we were expecting. Let's just call it an even break. Let's get another very good top pair defenseman for $7 million in an impact forward. Maybe that plays more of a physical playoff style of hockey. I think that's probably their most likely recourse. I don't think that they're doing multiple moves. I think John Tavares is going to sign for relatively cheap in free agency. And again, Matthew Knies, he's built for the playoffs. You're not getting rid of him. So yeah, Marner is definitely on the chopping block. I don't think that you trade Austin Matthews. His value is a little bit low right now. William Nylander rises up in the playoffs. Nobody's taking on Morgan Rielly $7.5 million for the next couple of years. So I'm not sure that there's a big retool, but Marner could potentially be on the outs if he wants too much money. Next up, sticking in Leafland, Jacob says Matthews is not a top 10 player anymore. And yeah, 0 goals thus far in 4 games. He has been fantastic defensively. I got to be honest, in the first round, he was very good. But when you're the best goal scorer in the NHL, your expected goals against per 60 are not the main stat that we are looking at to evaluate you. So top 10, I still think that he's top 10. I mean, come on, let's go through it. McDavid, Draisaitl, McKinnon, we all agree they're better than Matthews. Makar, Kucherov, Quinn Hughes, Kaprizov, we could argue. Pasternak, I guess you can argue. Barkov isn't exactly killing it, and I still would take the offensive upside of Matthews. And Rantanen, actually, maybe there is an argument. I would still have him like 7th or 8th. And again, it's only been four games in this series. I still think the goal scoring is so impressive, even though it hasn't been in the playoffs. I'm not ready to move him out of the top 10. If he ends up, they go to a game 7 and he doesn't score 0 goals in the next 3 games, I would understand you not having top 10, but I'm still taking him over Rantanen. We're going to talk about him later. Over Rantanen. Let's just go to that right now. This was the other take. Rantanen, Cam City 379. Rantanen is a top 5 player. I can understand you having Rantanen within your top 10 now. Potentially ahead of Austin Matthews, ahead of David Pastrnak, definitely ahead of Jack Hughes. Alexander Barkov's arguable. Top 5, though. I think top 5 is pretty clearly McDavid, Draisaitl, McKinnon, Makar, Kucherov. Even though Kucherov's kind of shit this year in the playoffs, I think you still got to have him top 5 until we see if next year he goes for 105, 110 points. Then I'm ready for some real Rantanen top 6, top 7 conversations. Honestly, if he continues this pace, this unreal pace, the rest of the playoffs, you could maybe argue top 5. But I think he's probably going to cool down a little bit. Not scoring, not being involved in 12 out of the Dallas Stars, like 13 goals, or what was it, 11 straight? But yeah, Rantanen, I had him 11 in my last top 50. He'll probably be 9 or 10. Definitely ahead of Jack Hughes. But yeah, so Rantanen top 5. I can't quite go there yet. Let's move on though. Okay, next up, Joe Halleck 15. The Leafs or Florida will lose to the winner of the Canes and Capitals. I personally would pick, I think the Florida Panthers are going to beat the Toronto Maple Leafs based on them just stealing the momentum back, dominating in Game 4. I personally would have Florida making the Stanley Cup Final, but could I see Washington or Carolina potentially beating the Florida Panthers? For sure, especially if it's Carolina, a team that can dominate possession, can match Florida in terms of that kind of tenacity. They just need to finish. They need to go up 2-1, 3-2, and just hold it down. They're not going to be able to get into a track meet with the Florida Panthers, but I do think it is possible, especially with the way that Freddie Anderson is playing right now. now. It's all going to come down to, honestly, how Sergei Bobrovsky plays, because we've seen Thompson and Markstrom kind of be able to have their way with the Carolina Hurricanes thus far in certain games, being able to shut them down with their low danger chances. So yeah, it's possible, but I would definitely pick Florida right now to make the Stanley Cup final from the Atlantic. R. Fleury says, if Pickard was healthy and won the series, he is in convos for the Smythe. Come on, man. He had like an 892. There was some graphic from Sportsnet. It's like Calvin Pickard is him. And it was a 6-0 record, which is crazy, don't get me wrong. And at the end of the day, winning is all that matters. But he has like an 892 and like 1 goal saved above expected. We need to, I know like the value compared to Stuart Skinner relative to that maybe is Conn Smythe worthy, but he was solid. And he did make some big saves late in games to win games. But at the end of the day, did not have Conn Smythe numbers. Draisaitl, McDavid, those are your Conn Smythe guys right now from the Edmonton Oilers. Next up, Alexi Primo 22. Pietrangelo is washed and needs to retire. And yeah, I've kind of been on the Pietrangelo like, still a good defenseman, but nothing special. People still act like he's a true number one. He's not even the best defenseman on his team at this point. Shea Theodore is no doubt better. And yeah, it's kind of been a rough go as the game continues to get faster against the Edmonton Oilers compared to, say, Minnesota Wild. He struggled a decent amount. He's not going to retire anytime soon because he still has, 2 years left at $8.8 million. But yeah, for Vegas, maybe you try to move him out or something like that. They're a ruthless organization, so although he came to you in free agency, you won a Stanley Cup with him as your number one, maybe his days are numbered in Vegas. That's definitely going to be interesting to monitor if they don't go on some deep run this season. And next up, Shawn Burton, 29, says, the Dallas love is overblown. Rantin, Ottinger, and Harley have single-handedly carried them. And yeah, I would agree with that sentiment thus far, but we know that Hintz, Duchesne, Robertson, Heiskanen coming back, those guys have risen to the occasion in the playoffs. It's not like this team has a reputation of playoff chokers. And guys, did I mention Wyatt Johnson? But he's also fantastic. Like, that's the scary thing. If anything, that's like a pro for them right now. The fact that their other guys aren't playing that good, and we've seen them play good when they made the Western Conference Finals the prior 2 years. So, although I agree with you, although the rest of their team needs to be better, they're in a spot right now up 2-1 against the Winnipeg Jets. And they're just in a fantastic spot. I believe that they would have home ice as well if they played the Edmonton Oilers or maybe even the Vegas Golden Knights. But yeah, they're in a great spot, but those guys definitely need to play better. Both can be true, but I don't think that that's really a negative like you're trying to spin it. But let's move on. Next up, we got some Washington Capitals positivity. Washington comes back in the series and goes on a cup run. And when looking at Washington, Game 3 was ugly. Game 3 was really ugly. Game 1, I didn't think it was as much Carolina domination as the shots suggested. As I talked about before, Carolina just throws a bunch of low-danger shots for the most part. But if they can stick to what they were doing in Game 2, they kind of had their way. They just need to be menaces out there and kind of disrupt Carolina and what system they're trying to run. And I think it's possible. Tom Wilson has been big for this team thus far. I need to see more out of Dylan Strome. I need to see more out of Pierre-Luc Dubois offensively within this series. But it's possible. It's definitely possible, but right now it just seems like that they do not have quite the 5-on-5 play to keep up with the Carolina Hurricanes. Logan Thompson going to have to continue to be lights out. Right now, I'd put them, they still got like a 20-25% chance to come back in this series. To win the Stanley Cup, though, I'd probably have them down at like 6-7%, just because, again, I don't think that they have those true difference makers offensively to quite get it done. Even though Carolina also doesn't have big-time difference makers, against Carolina's defensive system, you kind of just need some freak game breakers, and they really don't have it at this point. Next up, Gligati 16 says, Jake Ottinger is an easy top 4 goalie and on the verge of being in the Vass Igor Heli tier. I really like Jake Ottinger. I do agree he's in that second tier of goaltenders. Been awesome in the playoffs, have showed up basically every single playoffs for the most part for the Dallas Stars, has not quite had that regular season where you can say, oh, that's a no-doubt top 5 goalie in the NHL. If he continues to ball out this year in the playoffs, I think he gets to that 5th spot, potentially that 4th spot. Do I have him in that top 3? And again, it's just so tough to rank Hellebuyck right now, considering night and day, regular season and playoffs. But in terms of being on the level of Vasilevsky, even though he's been shit playoffs the last 2 years, or even a Shesterkin, I can't quite go there. It's not like he's completely taken over in the playoffs for a run like we've seen from Vasilevsky, like we've seen from Igor Shesterkin. So Ottinger, top 6, top 7 goaltender, but I do think there is kind of a clear top 3 that have had overwhelming runs, whether it be in the regular season or in the playoffs, to justify that placement. That hasn't quite happened with Jake Ottinger yet, although there's few goalies in the NHL that come Game 7 right now I would rather have than Jake Ottinger. Sticking on that, you're looking at the U.S. Olympics. Jack Percy says Dallas Winnipeg winner is the starter for the Olympics. And yeah, this seems to be it. Obviously, if like Hellebuyck wins this series or if Ottinger wins the series, and then they have an 880 come the time that you got to pick the Olympic starter, yeah, then this game gets completely thrown out. The series gets thrown out. But yeah, the way that Ottinger has, again, risen to the occasion come playoff time of late, I would definitely understand that even if Hellebuyck has another 928 come December next year or come whenever February when they play the Olympics deciding the team, I would go with Jake Ottinger. I personally would at this point. It's that much of a... I don't think Hellebuyck played that bad in the Four Nations, but he didn't play amazing by any stretch. It's not his fault Connor Hellebuyck was left wide open. But yeah, I think right now you got to lean Ottinger just because of his big game track record going forward. But a lot can change regarding that. Next up, we got something from Zeke. Florida is the only Eastern Conference team that would have over a 30% chance in the finals. I assume that this is saying either an Edmonton team with Matthias Ekholm or the Dallas Stars with Miro Heiskanen. And I would understand that sentiment. If so, I would probably bump it up to like a 40% chance, a 35%. 30 is a little bit low. Come on, Carolina would have like a 35% chance against one of those teams. Carolina is probably the one team where stylistically they could maybe be able to stifle the high-end offensive upside that a Dallas Stars or Edmonton Oilers would be able to present. But yeah, Washington, I would not stand that good of a chance against the Western Conference team. Toronto, maybe if they got to that point, they'd be able to, they already would have overcome their demons, but right now I would not have Toronto at that high of a percentage if they were to play the Western Conference team in a best of 7. So yeah, I think you're sleeping a little bit on the Eastern Conference teams, but I do agree. Florida is the most playoff proven team that still has the top end talent and a guy in net that you kind of trust, even though he's not playing good right now, where I would say that's kind of a pick'em series versus anybody else, unless it's Winnipeg probably that comes out of the West. The West is going to be a decent favorite in the Stanley Cup final. And then lastly, this isn't really second round, but I want to talk about it. Sasha, Colorado would have beaten St. Louis and Winnipeg and probably Vegas. Their window is still open. And yeah, I don't think I said that Colorado's window is closed after losing to the Dallas Stars. It's demoralizing. It's a tough loss. I think this season they compacted their window by trading Cal Ritchie, by trading a first-round pick, by trading a bunch of assets. It went from a 6 to 7 year window where they were maybe going to have some picks, some guys to come up, be able to replace older guys. They're not having jack shit. Now it's like a 3 to 4, maybe 5 year window for this team. They don't have a first, second, or third round pick the next 2 drafts. Their prospect pool is absolutely decimated. Traded Ritchie, traded Zellers. So window's not shut. Window is just tighter. But yeah, let me know in the comments, what do you think about this video? What do you think about these takes? Drop some of your takes or reactions to the second round in the comments down below. I'll be seeing the next one. Peace.